Hello. Welcome to TrueHoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
I am well, my friend. How are you?
Good. We're winding down, man. Most teams have 10 or fewer games left in the regular season. It is go time here. Very exciting. And we still have seeds to figure out, right? Because no one has locked up their seed yet. Milwaukee's clinched a playoff berth. Right. Denver's clinched a playoff berth, but nobody has their seed guaranteed. And this is what the NBA has got to love. And it's what, if you're a fan of the NBA, you have to enjoy this. It's also March Madness time. So we're kind of having a little double dip here. And the Sweet 16 will kick off this week on Thursday. David, this idea comes up often, and shout out to Kirk Goldsberry from ESPN, who was the person who brought it up again this year. The idea of, instead of conferences for the NBA, seeding the top 16 teams by record 1 through 16, regardless of conference. And the idea there is that we'll give some really insightful matchups. One of the ones I saw would be a guaranteed Knicks-Nets first round matchup, which would be awesome. A Warriors Celtics rematch, which you thought, how could that possibly happen? Yeah, well, it wouldn't have happened, prior to, because no one thinks the Warriors are going back to the NBA Finals. But now you can get a rematch in the first round. How cool would that be? Like, so many interesting things and rivalries can be created that way. Of course, the big things that the people like to poo-poo fun say, well, you can't because of travel. What happens when you have West Coast teams and blah, 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 blah. And I always say, guys, smart people work in this league and smart people exist in the world. We can figure this stuff out. But I know you have ideas, too, about what could be fun for playoff seeding.
Well, there's two things to what you just said. So the travel part is the problem because of multiple rounds.
Yes.
Right? If Golden State had played Boston in round 1 and New York in round 2, and then Philly in round 3, that would just it's not fair for both teams, but especially the higher seeded team, right? So that needs to be solved. How do you do that? Well, you can add an extra day every single time. I still think it's problematic. My tweak to the idea is we got to find a way to create what the NCAA has with one location events. All we know now is the All-Star game is crazy. I have no interest in going, but it's crazy. I mean, part of why is because I know it's so crazy. Imagine a scenario where I'm just playing here. Let's say the first and second seeds got home and home series. Everyone else played in one location so you had 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 and back-to-back nights. And the Eastern tournament played wherever. Same thing out west, Vegas or wherever. And you did a best of 3.
Right.
Or a best of 5 even, where each team plays one game at home first, and then you go to the site. My point is this. Number one, I want to see what that's like, where there's 2 games in one day, same location. I think that'd be really cool. I enjoy the bubble games. There just were no fans there.
Right.
But I thought the idea was good. The other thing, I think the more important thing is we just need to be innovative.
Yeah, correct.
We have to get more people interested. There was a period of time in American history where baseball was the most popular sport, horse racing before that.
Boxing.
I was just going to say, I'm watching, what is it? What did I tell you I'm watching? Oh, Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, yep.
Big. I mean, I knew also from my grandfather, my papa, boxing was so huge. Not anymore. I guess maybe UFC is bigger. I don't know. I don't watch either anymore. Basketball ain't it. We're popular. We're just not there. So the idea to me of being innovative and trying things is what I'm looking for. I don't spend my time. I spend a lot of time working on how can players make more shots, how can get the better spots on the court. That's my specialty is. And then writing about it and talking about it. Someone else is looking at these things.
Yeah.
How can we attract more eyeballs from the younger generation so they become fans for decades, right? That to me that's what I want to see.
That's our goal. No, and again, we talked about this for quite a few episodes. If you guys are familiar with us, you know that. We are big into innovation here, right? Let's try some different things and figure out what's going to be the thing in the future. And the NBA has an opportunity because the majority of its fans are younger relative to the other 3 major sports. That is an opportunity it has to really capitalize using its large social media following to figure out, all right, what can we do to innovate to really kind of be on the cutting edge here? And I would love to see it. So, we'll see if Adam and company and the people inside the league offices decide to do anything different. David, on the floor, one of the things that we say a lot is we move to an era of positionless basketball, right? This idea of point guard, shooting guard, off guard, small forward, power forward, center. They don't exist in the way that they did in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s and early 90s, right? It's just not quite the same thing. Ideally, you want as many people on the floor who can do as many different things, right? Those teams that have those kinds of players tend to win and do well, right? That's the goal that you want. Now, BBall Index has their own way of looking at positions. And they did this great tweet the other day where they said roles greater than positions, which we agree on. So for their on-ball guards / wings, they have 4 categories, they'll call them. Shot creator, slasher, primary ball handler, second ball handler. And I thought it'd be great to sort of look at that and figure out, as we're starting to look at the season winding down, we're heading towards the playoffs, for each of these categories that BBall Index has, and it's on-ball guards and wings, off-ball guards and wings, and bigs. That's the 3 categories that break down.
And even with the bigs, it's on-ball and off-ball bigs, meaning primary targets on offense and then not primary targets. Yeah,
correct. Who has the most versatility within those roles, right? And I would imagine, as a basketball brain, you would say, David, the team with more of those kinds of things tend to will play advance further and play better and possibly win a championship. But also there's an X factor, which is, but if you have one of those guys, like a Nikola Jokic or Jason Tatum or whoever, well, that'll mitigate all your whatever's that you have.
Well, that's really what you're building is if I can get that bluest of blue chippers, the MVP level candidates, the Lukas, Embiid, and so to speak, those guys, obviously Jokic, then I don't have to have as many, nor can I afford as many of the other. Also, importantly, can I draft players that can fill multiple roles on a team on a low contract, a rookie deal? That is something that's valuable. But I've said this before, maybe once on the show. There's the saying about NBA personnel is you have to be elite at one thing, and I've never agreed with that. More now than ever, it helps, but you have to be able to do a lot of things. You can't hide anymore. The way the game is played now, and we saw it. I watched a little bit of the NCAA tournament. Just the talent of the 6'7". I mean, Miami's got a bunch of 6'6" dudes. I don't know what position they are. They're hoopers, and they're punching them out to win or to rebound, right? Same as Michigan State. Like there's a toughness factor that's there, and that's not even anything that's found. And I like BBall Index, and I subscribe to it. You don't find a toughness factor, but I'll tell you this. When I was doing a scouting report called the Sunshine State Hoop Report the 90s, toughness was one of my 8 factors. To me, it matters. It helps mitigate other problem areas. When you just are tougher, what does that mean? It means I'm getting that 50-50 ball. I used to tell you this. I used to say about Udonis, he turns 50-50 balls into 80-20 balls. He turns 20-80 balls into 50-50 balls. That shit helps you win. Right. There's a kid in Kansas, Jalen Wilson, who just does a lot of things. I'm not sure he'll be an NBA player. He'll get drafted. He was Kansas' best player, Big 12 player of the year. Kansas wins a lot. They got upset yesterday or 2 days ago.
Right.
Their head coach wasn't there. So nothing against their assistant coach. He hasn't been the head coach. There's a big difference. The guy does a lot of things. Tony Allen was a winner in college and did a lot of things. I like those guys that play. But you want to continue to develop. The ideal situation is the Jason Tatums and those guys who do lots of things at an elite level and are not sucky at any of them, right? Those are the guys that kind of push you through the slog of the postseason.
Yeah, no, you're dead on. So when we're looking at on-ball, guard wings and shot creators, right? I mean, we know the names, right? That's Luka. That's Tatum. Would you put Jaylen Brown in that category, on-ball shot creator?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right?
Probably better in transition more than the half court. I don't know that. I just watching the games, he's so dynamic in going downhill. A little easier to slow him down maybe in the half court. He's not quite the ball handler he needs to be in the half court.
And that's Kawhi Leonard. That's Paul George, which so funny you said that's about the Clippers. Well, they have 2 primary on-ball wing shot creators who are also plus defenders. Now, I know you've been high on the Clippers all year, but that's, yes, everyone knows. So when you got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, you have a chance. But in that way we think about it, that is why you like them so much, right? Because I don't have just one of them. I have 2 of them.
Yeah, the rare wing that can be your primary scoring leader, playmaker, and do the same thing defensively against their primary wing scoring playmaker. They got two elite ones, who got tons of playoff experience. I mean, Paul George was playing against the LeBron Heatles.
Correct. Took him to 7 games.
Effectively, right. And then we all know about Kawhi. So, yeah, those are – and Terrence Mann is a lower-level version. He can't score like that. He is a playmaker. He does have a high IQ. He does defend multiple positions. He's got athleticism. One of the terms is slasher. Slasher is someone that can't shoot typically, or more often than not slashes, but also has to score. Slashing and not scoring, no good. You got to be able to score also. And Paul George cuts well. Kawhi Leonard cuts well. Those are all parts of it. The other thing that and I like BBall Index a lot, IQ doesn't show up in that, and I think it needs to. It may show up in your production and efficiency, but there's no category for it. So, in other words, the guy that should rank higher but doesn't is either part of a bad system, not his fault, or can't figure out what to do. That is his fault. Yeah, these are things I look at too.
Yeah, no, and when you look at EPM and you go up and down the top 10, these are, this is the who's who of on-ball creators in the league, right? Not just on-ball creators. They fill all those roles we talked about, right? I can be a shot creator. I can slash. I can be a primary ball handler. I can move off the screen. I can be a movement shooter. I can do a lot of different things. It's that versatility you talk about. So I wanted to look down the top 10 and say, oh yeah, that one's pretty good. All right, number one, but not number one by a wide margin as he used to be. Nikola Jokic, of course. Limited defensively, as we know, but he's the hub of your offense offensively, and averaging a triple-double with only 14 shot attempts a game. That is absurd.
Right.
Absurd.
And he's not right. He can beat you. Magic Johnson was this way, and Larry Bird was this way. They can be the absolute best player on the court and be the fourth leading scorer for your team in a game. Now, if that's always the case, they're not going to be MVPs. They may make all NBA, but he's not scoring 14 points a game. Right. And in many given cases, he is the guy, and he can get his own shot and score efficiently. Very different. Lots of guys get their own shot. They're not making many.
Right.
The ones that can do that too, but also absolutely make you pay. One of the reasons why I ranked him higher than Embiid the last few years, and now to me it's a toss-up, is Embiid wasn't as good at making you pay when you really shaded him or doubled him.
Yeah.
Jokic murdered you. Even if you weren't doubling him, murdered you as a passer.
And of course, look, and you could still double Embiid, and he may not make the greatest passes still sometimes, right?
He's better.
He's better, for sure. Whereas Jokic, he already knows where double's coming from. Done. You are dissected. So when they look at the big categories, David, it was versatile big, post scorer, stretch big, roll and cut big. Well, Jokic kind of does all of those things.
Right.
And he's also, right, a
primary ball handler.
A primary, right? So he does all these other things, right? And he's also a stationary shooter, right? That's 7 boxes he's checked, right? And that's huge to have somebody like that.
And he is the primary. We have to remember that he's a primary ball handler, and the reason why that matters is defensively. We all are. Think about it. Whatever we do most every day, we tend to be best at, right? And if you wrote a certain style every single day, you're going to get better at writing in that style. Cook eggs a certain way every day, you get better at cooking those eggs. So most defenses begin with the guard guarding a guard, or a primary ball handling wing guarding a primary ball handling wing. When you play Denver, you just have to face defensively a lot of possessions where your big is out guarding a primary ball handling center. And that's how your defense starts. There's a cost to that. There's a reason why they're top 2 in offense. It's despite MPJ really kind of being up and down, and Murray with his injuries, whatever, and yet it's Jokic. It's just it makes it uncomfortable for the defense, which is why you could argue in the postseason they have less of an advantage because they get more comfortable guarding over 7 games, starting a possession with my big guarding their big out on the court.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and of course because you're playing better teams, right? So they have time to scout and do all that. Joel Embiid's number 2 in estimated plus minus. he's just like Jokic, right? Not the primary ball handler, but maybe he's a secondary ball handler, tertiary.
I would. He's a primary target, a secondary ball handler, in that he can play from the perimeter. It doesn't tend to do it a lot.
And he does all those things: versatile big, post scorer, stretch big, roll cut big. He does all of that, right? Like, and he can shoot from three, which we've seen. Do you know, David, who's number 3 in estimated plus minus?
I did, and I forgot. I just looked it up. Jimmy Butler, yeah.
And we talked about this last week.
He's a king.
He, regular season, you're like, oh, how good is Jimmy Butler? But when the playoffs come, you're like, Jimmy Butler's one of the 5 best players in the NBA.
He's unbelievable.
Like, you say it every time, and he
does all these things.
Does everything on the wings, right?
Yeah.
Like,
we should quickly say this, Jarod. So as we go through this, just remember this is at the top. At the bottom, or even in the middle, you'll start seeing specialists. And to be in the middle, be a specialist at something, be solid in most categories. The bottom of the list is you suck at everything, but you have potential, or you wouldn't be in the NBA mostly. There's exceptions, leaders, veteran leaders, whatever. But really, if you're no longer very good or so in any one thing, and you're struggling to be good in almost anything, you're out of the league the next year.
Yeah, correct.
You have to be really good, if not great at something, and then very good at a bunch of other things. And these guys are just incredible at almost everything.
And Jimmy can be both, right? He can be an on-ball guard wing. He can be an off-ball guard wing. And
on both sides.
Yes. On both
sides. He also, I think I've said this once before. I was preparing a rookie to play him this year, guard. And he called me right before the game and said, I got to guard Jimmy Butler. Any thoughts? And I said, just remember, he's quick like a guard. Yeah. You have to, you can't think you've got the quickness advantage. This kid's a quick guy, especially defensively. You can't think you're going to be quicker than him. He's just super quick. At 6'9", it's not fair. It's like guarding one of these guys. It's just not fair.
He's unreal. All right, here's an interesting player at 4th. Obviously, brilliant. He's an on-ball guy, Damian Lillard. Like, he clearly checks all the on-ball categories, right? Like, shot creator, he can slash. He's a primary ball handler. He can, of course, shoot, for miles.
Movement shooter, catch and shoot guy.
Do all that.
Playmaker. He's a playmaker.
Limited now on the other side of the floor.
Right.
But he's such a plus at the other things. That's why he stays on the floor, and that's why he is who he is. Has made $1 billion, right? Because he's that good.
Well, and when you shoot like that, you're affecting everything on the court because of your gravity. So everyone has a chance to play more in space because you're shading Damian. You're panicking to get over screens all the time. Your big is afraid to leave Damian when he's kind of showing, and now his big can slip to the rim. And so it's impacting everyone in a positive way because he's so elite at shooting. He's having a career season. It's unbelievable.
I don't know. When we talk about all NBAs later in the season, almost soon towards the end here, they haven't won enough, I don't think, for him to be first team all NBA. But if winning doesn't matter, and it's just, he's got to be there because, he's
I don't want to hijack the conversation, but what guards would make it ahead of him?
That's the thing. None right now.
I think he's got a chance.
If you're taking winning away, and that doesn't matter, just straight up, it's him. He's played more games than Steph. So
I think he's been that incredible this year.
This has been
I'm not sure who would make it above him.
Guard wise, nobody.
Yeah, you're not gonna put Ja there.
Nope.
Yeah,
no one.
You're not gonna put Steph above him.
Nope.
Luka and Damian, right?
Yeah. And next on EPM, Luka Doncic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Luka's that guy, right?
He's more of an on-ball guy than Dame because he's not the shooter Dame is. So that's one of the great things about Dame is when you let him play off the ball, like when the Rockets got Chris Paul, part of it was to give Harden some rest. He's not the same off-ball player as Dame because you just can't shoot like that.
Right. And Luka doesn't seem to move and cut so much.
No, he's more just he'll take a play off. But he can hurt you inside. There's some things he can do with his driving. He can cut a little bit. Not that they have great passers, but he's so dominant in his primary ball handling, playmaking role. He's I've underestimated his passing sometimes because he scores so much. He's a very good passer, maybe even elite passer.
I think he is.
He probably is. I honestly don't watch them enough. I don't like watching the Mavericks play. Nothing against Luka.
Yeah, he sees. I'm like, how the fuck did you see that?
Yeah,
It's incredible.
Yeah.
He's pretty special. Another special player next, Kevin Durant. On ball, off ball, right? I can do it all. I can shoot. I can cut when I don't have the ball. Obviously, he can be a primary or secondary ball handler, right?
Yep,
in most offenses, he's secondary. Obviously, he can stationary shoot. He can movement shoot. Just another. Again, these are the guys that can do a lot of things.
I would call him a primary ball handler because so many possessions start with him with the ball in his hands. Mm-hmm. But yes, if he ends up being not your target, but your secondary target, well, you have a hell of an offense. That's what made Brooklyn's offense so good.
And when he's on teams that choose to go small and he is the quote-unquote big, right?
Yeah.
Well, he can do things, right? That bigs can do. So that, again, these are the special players. All right, now we're getting – well, let me get to Steph Curry. We did Kawhi already. We talked about him. Stephen Curry is next. Again, like Dame, but better. And you've watched this year, Coach. Steph I think he's in the best physical shape he's ever been in his entire life at 35 or whatever old he is right now. Like, he is physically stronger. Like, you can see it. And you can, it used to be, all right, let's just throw a body and bump him off the ball. That doesn't work anymore. Like, he really stays on it. Like, I mean, talk about a season where you can have, or a career where your peak can last, he can play till he's 40 if he wants to. Right? Like, I think he's assuming no injuries, and that's a beautiful thing. And he is both categories. I mean, he might be more lethal off ball than he is on ball. I don't even know.
He probably shoots it better off the ball, slightly.
But he shoots so well on the ball. Like.
Right. And he impacts it both ways because he's one of those guys that even when he's off, you're so preoccupied with him. Yeah, so his gravity has such an impact.
And the
on the ball and off the ball. Yeah, and he kind of made famous when we work with players on paint penetration, second about penetration, and kick out, and then we'll say be Steph Curry. You got to be Curry. I'll say things like you got to curry it out there, race to a spot. Curry races to spots, and that's kind of revolutionized how we coach those guys because he made us believe, you can still score when you're moving into a curl from 27 feet, and he's great at it. It's just effort.
I love this coaching point from you for our listeners. How difficult is it to shoot on the move?
Yeah, really difficult.
And shoot deep on the
move. Yeah, it's not hard from 15 feet. It's very hard. My gut reaction, because I'm an old man, every time I see it happening, I think, he's missing that shot, and I'm wrong. But when I first started coaching in 1987,
right, that was
guys.
wrong.
Yeah, you didn't make that shot very much, and guys, but you just got to drill it. So we practiced it a lot, moving at game speed, which isn't always full speed. You don't have to go full speed if no one's around you. You do have to go full speed on occasion, so you got to practice all the same as in transition. Curry is like no one like him.
The next two players to finish the top 10 are LeBron and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I think, that's the EPM stat we're using. Those are probably, if we were to come off the top of our head, the 10 best players in the league, right? We were just, that sounds about right.
That's why EPM's really good.
Right. And LeBron and Giannis are extremely similar, right? I mean, Giannis is 7 feet. I mean, he can't shoot. So the off ball shooting, that doesn't, right? But big, versatile, big, roll and cut. I mean, he can do all those things. He is a primary ball handler and shot creator, slasher.
For sure, all of those things.
He can do all those things. And then LeBron, I mean, what LeBron can do everything, right? Like what can't LeBron do?
Yeah, Giannis is like the bizarro KD.
Yeah.
Except that they're, he's not half his size, whatever.
Right.
But he looks like him.
Right.
And plays completely differently. It is reckless. You've seen the quote probably over the weekend. Can't shoot like Steph. Not as talented as KD, whatever.
Right.
I'm just gonna bring
it. Battering ram.
That's what he is. And what is KD is easy money sniper?
Easy money sniper.
But also like they call him the quiet assassin and stuff like that. There's nothing quiet about Giannis. He's punching you right in the mouth. Yeah. He's a bully. He's a big alien bully.
He's a bully.
Yeah. And that goes to something too. When you evaluate these players, I'm writing an article this coming week for players that I've seen that I like in the NCAA tournament. Some of them, most of them, maybe everyone knows, but I'm looking at that kind of thing. Like, what's your I don't care if you're a bully. Like, I really like the kid from Indiana, Trace Jackson Davis, but there was nothing bully about him. He seemed pleasant.
What's your disposition to dominate? That's what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. On the court, how relentless are you at trying to hurt the other guy, scoring wise? Yeah, that matters to me.
I love the story about the kid who I talked about it last week, who's missing his shots and his only coach in the gym. And he's getting upset, and you're like, buddy, you're not gonna make it in this league. Like this can't be your mindset. Like, you're gonna miss shots all the time. Guys are gonna light you up. Like, you gotta just move on, right? Like, and so it's disposition to dominate, but also that goldfish memories you talk about, right? You gotta forget shit that bad happens.
Yeah, that's the Ted Lasso goldfish thing. I'm a big believer in recognizing the tiny amounts of time a quarter or a half or even a game is. This weekend, I had some players that had not so great first halves and had stellar second halves. That's the game. Like, and then on the other hand, when you play great in the first half, my biggest fear is they're going to relax because he had a good first half. Well, then they'll relax and have no points in the second half. You had a chance for a great game, and now it's just a game.
Right.
Like, you have to bring it all the time, and so we look for guys like that restless spirit of I want more, and especially those kinds of guys that like to be pushed. That they don't all like to be pushed just because they have that aggressive mentality, but the ones that do now avail themselves to being inspired, and then you can really reach another level. It's
funny you mention that because it's a tweak. I know you know it as a coach. It's not just the I want more from because a bunch of guys who want to just score more, right? Yeah. It's not that piece. It's wanting more of the game and your ability to impact the game. Yes,
for sure. You want to win. It comes down to that, and I say this all the time. It's a competitive sport, and so I'm attracted to players that place winning over me winning, right? The guy that's not looking at the box score for himself after a game. First, he's looking, how was our defensive rebounding? Where was our turnovers at? How was our field goal percentage from 2? Or from did we get to the free throw line enough? These are all things that winners are focused on. And the guys that my concern always with players like LaMelo Ball have been, are they all about style over substance? The irony of someone like LaMelo Ball is, who wouldn't want to play with that guy?
Right, correct.
He's such a brilliant elite passer, and he's 21. Like, I have no reason to think he's not going to grow up. He may not. He wouldn't be the first one not to. But he's so fun to play with. But if you're not all about winning, it kind of comes up, it bites in the ass in this league, because like Kyle Lowry wants to punch you in the face to win. True Holiday wants to punch you in the face to win.
Yeah, they do.
All these guys, the Bucks are beasts that way. All the good teams are. Yeah. And sometimes too, experience matters, where, like, I feel like we're going to talk about them later probably, but you know, there are many people, including Henry Abbott, that don't like James Harden. And maybe James Harden used to be about more me and scoring than anything. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think he gets it. And I think he's gotten it all year.
Yeah.
That Embiid's our guy. My job is to set him up, do what I need to do as a secondary player. I think they're scary because of it, because he's so talented.
So it's so interesting. So we mentioned those guys top 10, right? I'm just going to quickly tell you who the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys are on EPA, okay, right? So Giannis ended it at 10. SGA, James Harden, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, the only person I would say in that group, because Harden is no longer peak version Harden. He's still very good, but just not very good. He's not MVP level Harden anymore.
Nope.
The only person who I think is like the other guys in that group who does everything still well is Tatum. But Tatum's had kind of like an up and down year, right? He's been a little up and down this season. But everybody else, we're starting to get into that specialist mode you talked about, right?
Well,
where it's like they're really good at one thing, but or not maybe specialists, but right. they're less good at everything as the top.
That's
guy.
Right. That's exactly right. So they're still very good at a lot of things, but you're not going to pick them to be the best at any one thing or any two things, and so they're not as effective. So to me, the interesting part of this conversation is how do some of those guys get to that next level? Well, maybe they got to shoot 40% from 3 and take 3 more a game. Maybe they got to block 2.5 shots a game instead of 1. Jaren Jackson did the first thing. the second thing is block shot. Now, can you score a little more efficiently? Can you create more as a scoring guy when you draw doubles?
And he's starting to do that now a little bit.
Can you shoot the three? Like, these are things that matter when you're trying to be all NBA, which is what we're talking about here.
To the next level. Yeah. And that is, we talked about it, right? That's the hardest jump, right? Is to then go from, all right, I'm an all-star, but now I got to be an all-NBA.
Yeah, I think it's the hardest jump. Yeah. I think I don't know that I'm right or not. I just feel like you don't see that jump often. That's why it's the hardest.
Because it's hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
A lot of guys have all-star seasons.
Yes.
Fred VanVleet is one of many.
All-star season.
Right. To jump to all-NBA is just another level. Well, it's just not many guys do it. I don't know how many different guys have been all-NBA the last 5 years. It's not a lot.
Well, and I was just going to go to that point. And the problem is, David, is that the guys who are up there at all-NBA, they hog it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Look at LeBron, Steph, and KD, still all in their 30s, still up there. And it's like, well, they're not letting
Harden too.
Right. They're not letting other guys in there.
Harden's 12 in EPM, right?
Yep. He's 12. Yeah. Yep. They're not letting other guys get in there. So, how can you when the old guys are still playing well?
Such an important point. This is not our subjective views.
Right.
We're just looking at an algorithm.
Right. It's telling us.
And, I don't think that the guys doing this are fiddling the algorithm to make sure Harden and LeBron and Steph get in there, not some other great player. No,
they're not.
These are if those guys won't be in there soon enough.
Right.
But they're there now. Yeah. Because they do that many things. They think the game, it's experience, knowing when to cut, how to cut, where to cut, all that. I mean, if you watch a game, you will see players do a lot of stupid things. And you hope that they aren't doing it 2, 3, 4 years into the league. If they are, they're not around much longer. No. They may not make the league either if they're playing smarter because they can't do other things. But if they can do other things and they're not fucking up in terms of the spacing and the cutting and all that, they can stick around.
No, absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk about something that might be concerning me a little bit. All right, David. Last week, I said, we both said, we're not really worried about the Celtics. They've been playing so well all season. Maybe they're just in cruise control right now. I'm not ready to sound the alarm. So this isn't 5 alarm. Let's get nervous here, but I'm watching some things. They've dropped down to third now because Philly has a tiebreaker over them in the Eastern Conference. They're 8-7 in their last 15, so basically 500 ball. 11th in offense, defense, and net rating over that time. Now, again, small sample size, et cetera, et cetera. But starting now-ish, we want to start rounding into form and playing our best basketball, right? Because playoffs are going to be here before we know it. At the beginning of the year, I said, when the Ime Udoka situation happened, I was worried that, this is going to sink them. That coupled with the losing the finals and the disappointment. Because remember, that was on the eve of training camp. He got let go. So I was like, all right, this is it. Like, they're going to have a period, and I thought it was going to be early. I didn't think it would affect them later because I was like, wow, look how well they started. They're playing great. Oh, they're fine now. No worries. Maybe it's Ime not being there affecting them now. I don't know. But you're something you're seeing is like not inspired play on the basketball court.
The only thing, it's a mystery to me. They haven't lost talent, right? Those guys didn't forget how to play.
They are dealing with injuries, let me be fair, right? Yeah. Rob Williams has been in and out. Marcus Smart's been in and out.
Right. But, I mean, of late, I think those guys are mostly playing, aren't they?
I believe they are, yes.
I think that they're getting beat up in the paint in a way they didn't used to. Last year, they dominated the paint defensively. I think 42 points a game. This year, the last, 15, 20, 30 games, 50 points a game allowed. That's a lot. 8-point difference or so is a lot. And they're still guarding the three the same. I don't think teams are shooting that much better against them. They're not shooting that much worse than normal. And they're kind of average lately. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's just a malaise that they've got to break through. If we could wave them at if a team knew, well, by round one we're going to be rolling, so we don't have to work hard now, that'd be great.
Right?
Who wouldn't want to save your energy for round one? It's just not how it works.
Right? We don't know that.
Yeah, it may happen, but to me, genuine confidence comes from genuine work and genuine results. Right? Then you have genuine confidence. I don't think it's great for Boston to limp into the playoffs and in game 2 up 1-0 and they're in a series in that first round 3 versus 6 against Brooklyn and they're down 5-3 to play, I don't think it's great for them to wonder, are we going to be okay here in this game? And now we got back to Brooklyn 1-1. I don't know. I don't want to do that.
Right.
The confident Celtics team feels like, all right, we're outscoring them 10-2 the last 3 minutes. We're going to win this game. You have to earn that. And so we're having real concerns as to whether or not they're on that path or that track to earn it.
Yeah, no, it's just something that really kind of stuck out because they've been monsters all season in terms of net rating. And look, the sample size of the season is still large for them. They're still number 2 in adjusted net. Overall, they're 4th in offense and 4th in defense. So they still have the profile that suggests they're going to make a deep postseason run. But again, we want to take into account what's happened lately. And, 500 ball lately, that's not great. We talk about it with the Warriors all the time, right? To no surprise, David, they're back to 500 again, right? Like, because that's who they are. They are a 500 more or less team. Speaking of the Warriors, they got 10 games left. I'm going to guess they probably go 5-5 over those 10, maybe 6-4. Like, I don't see some 9-1 run here, right? Because that's just not what they've done over the course of 70 odd some games, right? They've been who they are. So it'll be interesting to see, since the Celtics have a larger sample size of being better, is this just a malaise patch and then they get themselves back together and they come steaming into the playoffs?
I tell you, they better figure it out because Philly looms.
Yeah.
Brooklyn does too. That's not an easy cakewalk in my opinion.
Brooklyn will play hard. They'll guard them a ton, but it's not easy.
But Philly's next.
Yeah, and and look, you turned me around on Philly. I'm like, look, if Harden's playing the way he's playing, and
they just have a lot of guys,
and beats the monster,
yeah.
And Jason Tatum's not going to want to deal with PJ Tucker for 7. That's going to be annoying as shit.
I mean, they got it starts with Embiid,
yeah,
and Maxey's doesn't miss. Niang's a great shooter. Tobias looked great against the Pacers.
Yeah, Tobias, X Factor.
Sunday afternoon, maybe Saturday, I forget. He looks great. He doesn't even have to do much anymore. They just, you can question Doc. Sure. I do. Sure. Henry questions Harden. I don't.
Right.
He's never played with anyone like Joel Embiid in the playoffs. And with this kind of lineup and everything. So,
yep.
I think they're in Philly are the favorites right now in the East.
No, yeah, I like where you're at with them, and also since we're here, we talked about this last week. Joel Embiid. Now we said it. The gap closed. I think we said at the end, we're like, if I had to vote today, I'd vote Embiid. I think, I'm voting Embiid.
I would too. With 9 games to play, Denver's schedule is okay. Philly's is pretty tough, not super tough, but they've got some tough games coming. To me, in boxing, they used to always say the tie goes to the champ. I don't feel that way for the MVP for this reason. I like the argument I heard a few years ago that these awards give at least some historical window, a window into the history of the league.
Of course.
So you would, if you look at all NBA, you'll know Jokic is right there. I think the MVP and the other award winners give you something more than nothing. And so to me, if Jokic doesn't put Embiid away this week, I would want Embiid to win. I don't much care either way, but yeah.
All right. So here's the question for you, because it matters here. Who's your all NBA first team center?
Whoever
wins the MVP.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. I wouldn't pick them both. Although Jokic really does guard fives. He doesn't play the five, the quote unquote five, going back to that basketball index thing.
Right.
He guards other people all the time. And most importantly, plays offensively way different than the five. But yeah, wouldn't you give it to the MVP?
Yes, MVP would get it, and I wouldn't feel bad because I'm like, look, we put Joel Embiid on the second team center the last 4 years. So
I wouldn't feel bad one bit.
What it is.
Listen, what are these guys making?
Yeah, I mean, $30-40 million.
And just remember, think about that kind of money. I made some money in my life. Never made that kind of money. No, not even close. Because you can't spend all of it unless you're really a fool.
Right.
And 20 years later, what does that equal?
Right.
The money Embiid made 10 years ago should be worth so much more now. Should be at least double in almost any way he invested it. What did Shaq always say? He lived off his endorsements, I think.
Yeah.
He banked all of his salary.
Sounds about right.
That's very, very powerful stuff when you consider you know this in finance, compound interest.
And think about the money Shaq made on the floor as well as off the floor. Like, I mean, it's generational wealth. Money you couldn't spend.
Right. So my point is, I got no tears for you when you're second team, or Joel.
Right?
No.
It's fine.
You deserve the money. I'm not criticizing any of it.
Of course.
I'm just not going to cry that you're second team. Deal with it. Way better.
The Toronto Raptors are an interesting team. They had all those rangy, wingy guys, and we're like, well, they don't got a center. Lo and behold, they got Jakob Poeltl at the trade deadline. David, dare I say, the Raptors look beyond competent. Like, they're 2 games below 500. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They've had a positive net rating all year. Look, they're going to be that team that if they get in, if they win the play-in and get that 8 seed, yes, I'm going to pick Milwaukee to win, but Milwaukee's going to be like, man, Toronto, they're going to be annoying, and they're going to be coached well. They're going to play hard, and it's going to make it more tough than you want it to be. What are you liking from Toronto?
Yeah, well, it's interesting overall what you just said. There's some teams on the lower half of the brackets that are going to be problematic. The Lakers could be there.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to them in a minute. Yep.
Right, the Warriors could be there. They will be there. Toronto, yeah. So, Scotty's a second-year player and capable of doing some interesting things. Remember last year, I thought they'd have beat Philly. Gary Trent was super sick, and Scotty got hurt, and they lost in 6. But I really thought they had a real shot to win Game 3. They won Games 4 and 5. Siakam has kind of fallen off a little bit, but he's still very good. Freddie VanVleet's playing better. Poeltl helps all that. It kind of gives them – it just takes care of a position that they really need on both ends. He's an anchor defensively. They can get out and try to cause more chaos, help on the glass a little bit. They're going to be interesting next year, depending on what they do. But because the teams in the East are so good, I don't project Toronto winning a series. No, but if they were in the West, they could pull the upset. They remind me of OKC in that they're a pain in the ass to play against in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, let's look at that right now in the West. So if you're Denver, the 1 seed. Potentially, you could wind up with OKC, the defending champion Warriors, or the Lakers, presumably with a healthy Anthony Davis and healthier LeBron James. That's probably not ideal if you're the 1 seed. The Denver Nuggets.
It's the 6 or 7 game series. It doesn't mean it can't be 4
right.
or 5.
And I'm not
likely
saying,
that it is.
Yes, and I would not favor any of those bottom teams to beat the Nuggets, but I'm not saying it couldn't happen.
The odds would not be. They're not. It's not a 1 versus 16 seed.
Correct.
Whereas in the where other than to say this, it is in this case of the 16 seed in college has no pressure. They've now won 2 ever after FDU beat my friend Tobin beat Purdue. OKC is going to feel like a 16 seed. They're a year early, right? If they get to that game, which they have a real chance of getting, they're going to be freewheeling and high-flying shooting.
Yeah. And let's talk about OKC, because you mentioned them numerous times this year. We thought about maybe to Shea one out. Here's the thing. Now that they're good, and let's say they get, because you think, as I do, they should, and they are, play to get in play-in. Let's hope we make him get into that first round. It's going to be experience for all those guys that matter. Shea's been in the playoffs before, but early in his career. The rest of these dudes need time to play. Next season, and then after the season ends and going into the offseason, they, more than anybody, have the ability to go out and get somebody, right? Because they've got a gazillion draft picks, they've got a clean cap sheet, and they have contract in Lou Dort that they can move to try to match salary with a bigger person. I mean, they do a move like that, David, keeping SJ, of course, and let's say Chet comes back and Chet's a good rookie, right? Rookies still make mistakes, but whatever. They could vault themselves to top 4 in the Western Conference, right? Because they play like, you watch them play. They are hard to play against. They shoot a ton of threes and shoot them well, and they run stuff and run good stuff.
Yeah, they play unconventionally, a lot of driving. They want their 5s to drive and kick to and shoot 3s. I see it a little differently. I don't think Chet's going to have a great year next year. Okay. He looks – I mean, I understand why you would say it. It's possible. Right. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Right.
I'm saying that he's so skinny.
Might break.
I just saw a picture of him the other day.
Yeah, he looked really – yeah.
I mean, it's just super – it's not thin is one thing. This guy is – I just worry about that and how he's going to hold up in a brutal league.
Well, even forget Chet. Let's say he doesn't play at all.
Right. So here's my point. So yeah, Chet's just one person because they have more draft picks coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're rookies still. My fear is we talked about why does Shea want to stay there? Well, now we know the answer. Mm-hmm. He's the man. He's scoring 30 a game, whatever he's doing this year. And they have a real shot to get at least one playoff game, or play-in, playoff, whatever you want to call it. My fear is if they don't do what you just suggested and add some help, they run the risk of going through another year where they don't do anything because of one injury. And now, whether Shea's the one who's injured or not, now he's 27, and they still suck, and all he has goes is one play-in game.
Yep, that's fair.
And so, to me, I think what you're saying is right. I think they need to go ahead and play. They need to play the game and be able to say to Shea, whether you're hurt or not, we're going to be a playoff team next year. We're hoping you're fine, obviously, and we can lose some guys to injury, but we've loaded up, and now Shea for the next 5 years, which means your next deal too, we are competing to be a Final Four team. That's what I think Toronto, OKC needs to do. To make sure Shea doesn't feel like I get the fuck out of here. I gotta bug out.
No, because I think you're right. Because the Jalen Williams, I mean, those guys they can shoot. Man.
I like Jalen Williams. Yeah,
I like them a lot. And Giddey's good, man. Like they're all tall, and I love tall dudes who can shoot. It's a beautiful thing. No, I'm very curious to watch what happens in OKC going forward. I think this summer is going to be very, very interesting. See if they really like quote unquote going all in. Let's stick around teams that are sort of towards the bottom. Spurs, Pistons, Rockets. I'm going to group them together because they're in the Victor sweepstakes, right? They're all praying, please, let's get Wemby. They get Wemby. It's beautiful for any of those franchises. Indiana down there as well, but not because they're going to get Wemby, just because they're one of a lower performing team. Although they're playing quite well themselves this season.
They're a little bit more in the middle, but they're really young. They're
a game and a half behind the Bulls for that 10 spot right now, so maybe they can sneak in and get it. I know they're going to try to, because why wouldn't you try? They can't lose enough games now to get into the Victor sweepstakes, so you might as well get into that play-in and see if you can try to maybe make a little run and get into the playoffs.
Right.
But these are all teams that we like a lot of their young talent. Nembhard and Matherin in Indiana. Where are you on the Houston guys? I know you're not high on Jalen Green yet. You think he's got talent, but you're like, there's some things about him you're probably not ready to.
The whole Rockets franchise is just weird. They're not playing smart basketball. They're playing better lately. I think they've won 3 of the last 5.
They have.
Green can really score. Terrible defender. Jabari Smith is the guy that I'm intrigued with. I'm intrigued with him. I thought he was the best prospect coming in. It looks stupid now, but I'm sticking with it because I think he can be a scorer, shot blocker. We're not many of those guys. He's shooting better. He's looking to score. He's more assertive. He's more athletic, I think, than people realized. He's really intriguing to me. And Houston needs to build a franchise that allows him to flourish the way maybe Orlando is with Paolo. We don't know yet.
No, we don't know.
But it's possible. And Wagner helps. He's a good player. Wendell Carter Jr. is pretty good. Orlando's played better in the second half of the year. But I'm hoping Houston figures it out so that we can see the best version of Jabari.
And then in Detroit, we love Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham. Hey, and look, he's got a long way to go, but Wiseman is getting playing time, and playing time is oxygen for these guys. You ain't going to get better sitting, right? You have to play through mistakes and learn. And these last 2 months, he's learning, right? And things are slowly coming around for him. I wonder, would you play him summer league this summer?
Definitely not.
Okay.
I definitely would not because it's garbage.
Okay.
It's just garbage. It's not the real thing. He needs to, what I think he needs to do, first of all, he hasn't really had an off season.
No.
At least not a normal one.
He's been
not for
rehabbing
long.
or doing whatever.
COVID the first year. He's got all these reference points. Listen, I'm never going to work with James Wiseman. This isn't a self-serving thing. If I was Team Wiseman, I probably would call me, but I won't be me. But I would recommend you find someone that works with the Pistons staff on here's all of his statistical breakdowns from what he was good and bad at this year. Here's what he's terrible at. Every day for 5 minutes, he has to watch film on what he sucks at on defense because he's a bad defender right now. And then 5 minutes of what it looks like with a real defensive player. and beat that into his brain visually, okay, virtually in a sense, and then pinpoint areas of weakness on the court, skill-wise, strength-wise, movement-wise, and then either the the Pistons staff is working with him, or Team Weissman staff is working with him 5 days a week, all summer long. Here's when here's what I do with my NBA players.
Right.
We coordinate with their teams, who's sending coaches down to wherever he is, whatever. Here's when you should take a vacation. I can't make him do it, but I can recommend. He should be at Summer League with Detroit as a fan, even if he's sitting behind the bench.
Right.
Those are few. I mean, so should Cade, so should Jaden. Those are young guys, and so it all matters. But if Weissman ends up being a double-double guy, which he's now lately been a double-double guy, there's not that many of them.
No.
So if he can be a double-double guy at a high percentage, which he's not shooting, and he can't shoot threes, he doesn't really shoot much, and free throws, and just a serviceable defensive player, he's a plus for them. Yeah. But there's no reason why he can't be a great defensive player. How old was Rudy Gobert when he got drafted? Do you know?
I can pull it up right now.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Rudy is taller than James.
Yeah, Rudy's. Oh my God. Let's see. Rudy was drafted.
I would have guessed that he was
2013. Let's see.
It should have. If you look at Duncan,
21.
So he's 21. So that's what. And what's Weissman now? 22.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the COVID year. He had the injury year. I mean, Gobert played a lot more. And it wasn't like Gobert was great.
Weissman's 21. Hasn't started 22 yet.
Not even 22 yet. Yeah. So same age. Rudy got drafted. So you almost can consider him like a rookie in many ways.
Yeah.
And develop the hell out of him.
And he didn't play in college. He played like 2 basketball games in college.
Right. Then they've got they've got a nucleus here. And I like Killian Hayes. Yeah. He's really grown on me as a good backup. Solid backup, knows how to play, can fill in for 30 games if Ivy or Cunningham's out or more. And all of a sudden you start seeing, I don't know what they'll do with their coach, our friend Don Casey. I mean, maybe Dwayne Casey maybe keeps his job, maybe doesn't. But I think there's something to be optimistic about. I mean, Indiana has a lot of reason to be optimistic because they have a number of young players.
Yep.
I've never been high on Mathurin. When he was really scoring, I was super impressed. I have my concerns about him. But Tyrese is 23 and is an all-NBA candidate starting next year. He was this year until he stopped. He got hurt a little bit, and then he started losing. But with Nembhard this weekend, he's played great for them. They beat Milwaukee the other day. I think he had 21 in the second half against Milwaukee. They've got Turner locked up. If they want to keep him, they can trade him if they want. They've got 3 draft picks, I think, in the first round.
Yeah.
I think. So there's something to play with there. It won't be Wemby.
No, but,
It won't be Scoot.
No, won't be
even
Wemby.
If they drafted 2, I don't think they would.
Or Brandon Miller. It won't be anybody like that.
If they were 3rd, they would draft Brandon. Very unlikely they'll or 2nd even, they'll get that. He would fit there pretty good. They can trade Buddy. TJ McConnell's a very good backup. Someone should be going after him as their backup point guard. Yeah, they've got those teams all have interesting futures, I think.
And then of course there's San Antonio, who Devin Vassell is a player who you've loved. Who talking about young? He's only 22.
Yeah, been 3 years in the league already. He's
playing well, and I'm telling you right now, Pop's got that look on his face, like, brother, like, how long am I going to do this? Whatever. I'll tell you right now, if they get the first pick and get Wemby, you'll see Pop come back next year. The beard might be gone. He might look 20 years younger next year if he gets Wemby. I think that'll be a nice, I think San Antonio is a perfect place for him. I think organizationally. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what San Antonio does. And if they do get, or to get a second pick, let's say they get Brandon Miller, right? I mean, might be some nice things for Pop. He might want to stick around a little while longer.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't. I like him. I actually, just because it's ready, I'm ready for someone new. But he coached his ass off yesterday. I watched the game. They came back down like 25 against Atlanta and won. Not good for Atlanta. Good for San Antonio. Devin was unbelievable. Keldon Johnson. San Antonio's got a lot of young players. They get Victor and then spend some money, and all of a sudden they're a contender for a playoff spot, not for a championship. Wemby's, I think, going to be the rare rookie that really can make a difference. He's going to have some serious gravity.
Let's finish up on Wemby really quick. Before we mention the last thing. So you think defensively, you think he'll be able to make an impact as a rim protector probably from day one, right?
Okay. I do. I mean, he's every bit as advanced as Walker Kessler.
Okay, so rim protection for sure, easy. So the rim protection alone, even though he'll have some things to learn on defense, as a pick and roll coverage, whatever, he should likely be a positive defender, right? At least just from
and he's been playing pro for a long time. He's seen plenty of these tactics.
That's true.
Just not the athleticism, but the tactics he's seen.
Offensively, you brilliantly pointed out. Don't let him come in here thinking he's Kevin Durant or Giannis, like being a primary initiator with the ball. Like, he can shoot, so run him off screens.
Yeah.
Let him shoot threes. He's going to get fouled, go to the free throw line and shoot. Like, let's not try to make him average 30 a game, right? Probably do that, average 15, get to the line, another, 18, something like that. If he's doing that and rebounding and blocking shots, I mean, obviously rookie of the year, but that's a plus player that tilts you a bit as an organization.
Well, and it takes the pressure off him, too, of having to be the man.
Right.
Devin Vassell, I don't know if he's good enough to be the man. He might have to be more like a Middleton role. Not that Chris Middleton isn't very good in the playoffs.
Quite good.
They've got some holes to fill. But I like Jeremy Sochan a lot. I like some of their young guys. But, yeah, Victor is a game changer because he can give them – they lost Pirtle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think San Antonio thinks they're going to get him. I don't know why they think that, but I think they do. Obviously, you never really know. But they're going to get a good pick no matter what to add to some talented players that they have.
Mm-hmm. No, it'll be nice. I'm so curious about Wemby and what he's going to look like. Last thing, it was reported over the weekend that Hornets majority owner Michael Jeffrey Jordan is considering selling the Charlotte Hornets, selling his majority stake in the Hornets. With the rate that teams are going for these days, it's a super smart business decision because even as shitty as the Hornets are as a team, they'll still sell for a ton, and he'll definitely make a nice profit off of his investment. So, and he might also be like, I'm sick of losing, this stinks, whatever. But David has another theory why he thinks Michael Jordan might be wanting to sell the Hornets right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just stupid, but
it's fun.
I feel like, first of all, he's getting top dollar.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like, what's he want to, he did a lot in Carolina. I understand that. But the team's going to be worth more money in 5 years. Mm-hmm. So this is why I think this is, why not wait until the TV money comes in? I think it's because he would buy Portland. Mr. Nike connections. Yeah. It's not a conspiracy theorist. It's just guessing out loud. Why would you sell now?
Right.
He doesn't have to do anything for them anyway.
Nothing.
Owners don't have to be involved. Why not go buy Portland? And that he built that town in a sense. I know Portland's been around a long time, but let's face it. Every young generation person knows Portland is the Nike town.
No doubt. So everyone knows that the late Paul Allen, his trust owns the Portland Trailblazers and the NFL Seattle Seahawks. And according to the stipulations in his trust, both of those franchises must be sold. And when they are sold, the proceeds go to the charitable endeavors that he has. His sister, Jody Allen, is the executor of said trust right now. So there's a window on that, right? That has to get sold within a certain time frame. So no matter what she says, we're not, no. The trust, it's very clear what the stipulations are. So it will get sold. I think timing-wise, you made up a great point, David. Yes, the TV money coming in. When is that deal? Next?
Not 2 more years, maybe?
Two seasons? Yeah. But can you hold out? I think this is what Jody's holding out for on her end. The league is going to expand sometime soon. The expansion fees for 2 franchises are going to be whatever they are, $4 or $5 billion. Guys, that money gets divvied up among the other 30 owners. That's basically like you're standing around, you're waiting, you get free check for millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, or tens of millions of dollars. They're going to wait so they can get their hands on that. And if I'm MJ, I'm waiting on that too. Let me just, fatten up the wallet a little bit and get what I want for this deal. So
but he isn't waiting. That's what makes me wonder why.
Yeah. Or I'd be curious if Jody sells before getting the expansion check.
Right. Well, unless there really is a time limit to it.
Well, yes, unless time limit cuts out.
Well, you can negotiate that too.
I'm sure. Listen,
right? You can negotiate. Hey, I'll sell you now, but when that expansion money comes, we're getting X%.
Yeah. Listen, these guys and ladies don't become billionaires by being stupid and leaving money on the table
or hiring dumb attorneys.
Correct. It's going to happen. All right, guys. Make sure you Stay tuned and follow us. Dave's going to have some great stuff coming out later this week. Please rate, review, subscribe, download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those places where you get podcasts, and share it with your friends. And we will see you later in the week. Take care.